All right, so welcome everyone. As Mr. Baroni stated, we will be having the continuation of our public hearing a little bit later on our agenda, so stay tuned. Thank you for joining us. So first order of business, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 19th for the City of Minnetrista. First order of business is I'd like to ask that you join me in Pledge of Allegiance. I will say the pledge this time, and afterwards we'll do roll call. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And again, welcome. And if you're joining us, please mute your microphones, and when you're asked to speak, you can unmute them. Except for council, you can keep them unmuted at all times if you'd like. So first order, I'll do the roll call. I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor, and council members present. As I call your name, just say here. Ann McGregor.
Here.
Kathleen Refkin.
Here.
Pam Mortensen.
Here.
John Chamberlain.
Here.
Administrator Mike Baroni.
I am here.
Public Works Superintendent Gary Peters.
I am here.
Chief of Police Paul Falls.
Here.
Community Development Director David Abel.
I am here.
Finance Director Brian Grimm.
Here.
Director of Administration Ali Paulfus.
I'm here.
City Clerk Chris Lindquist.
I am here.
And we have our engineers Allison Fauski with WSB.
I am here.
Adam Gadbois.
Here.
And our attorney this evening sitting in for Ron Beatty is Joe Sethi.
I'm here.
All right, welcome. So again, welcome everyone. So first order is our agenda. Is there approval of our agenda? Staff, council, any additions to the agenda? I'm not aware of any. All right. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
This is Ann.
Pam,
John, so moved.
Ann made that motion and John seconded that. All those in favor will signify with aye. John, how do you vote?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
Kathleen?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
And I vote aye, Lisa Whalen as well. That motion passes 5-0. So next we have our special presentation this evening. Mike Kirkwood is our representative to the Lake Minnetonka Conservation District. Welcome, Mike, and thank you for coming and sharing your information with us. It's all yours. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Whalen, and good evening, council members. I want to review with you just some of the high points of activities on the Lake Minnetonka Conservation District that are related to the Minnetrista area primarily. And for those of you who may not be aware of that, the Lake Minnetonka Conservation District was formed back in the 1960s by the state legislature. It is comprised of 14 different cities around the lake, each city having a representative and each city also having a funding formula for the LMCD. So I wanted to just share a couple things that have been going on, and in particular, one issue that I need the support and input from the city council to sort of strengthen a safety concern on the lake, and we'll talk about that at the end of this presentation. So just a couple things that I thought you might be hearing about from from your constituents that might be Lake Minnetonka related elements. Just wanted to give you a heads up so that you're aware of that, but you certainly could call me anytime you need further information. In the last year, we've been focusing on a couple of things. One was high water and wake regulations, trying to prepare for that time when we do get heavy rains and the lake gets high enough where we may need to have short-term rules that would slow down boats on the lake and to reduce wake washing and eroding shoreline. We have had a lot of increased activity on the lake in this last year due to the COVID. More people are home. There was an estimated that we've had 25% increase in lake traffic. Relative to aquatic invasive species, which is also one of our missions, as many of you may recall in previous years, seeing the mechanical harvesters going around the lake, the blue machines that were harvesting weeds in channels and along shorelines. We stopped doing that about 2 or 3 years ago as a result of the desire of many people to not have the harvesting happen in their vicinity for fear that it actually was spreading more weeds, and to cost containment factors. Many people were favoring chemical treatments, and those treatments have been done in some parts of the lake with having very good results. So the harvesters are likely to be sold, and more focus, I think, will likely be on approvals for chemical treatments for weeds. There's been a lot of activity and talk around wake boats. These boats are specifically designed to create large wakes, which people can then literally surf behind them. And they have been a particular frustration for residents who live in the northern end of the lake on the narrow bays like Harrison's, Jennings, North Arm, and Maxwell, where they are creating a lot of wake disruption for small boats, as well as shoreline erosion and noise from amplified sound systems have created a number of complaints. The Water Patrol doing their best to try to enforce the noise and speed and wake regulations are having a difficult time because it's hard to get to these folks when they're moving at speed around the lake, and they sometimes are not able to catch them and make any kind of arrest. So an organization of citizens has sprung up in that part of the lake. You may be hearing about it from time to time. Citizens for Sharing Minnetonka is a nonprofit started up in the Maxwell North Arm area of the lake by shoreline owners who are frustrated by the wake boats as a counter to what is some strong lobbying on the part of the wake boat industry. So this is an issue that you're going to continue to hear about if you're tuned into lake activities at all. The LMCD is taking the stance of having research supported that's being done by the University of Minnesota St. Anthony Falls Research Lab. They are going to be and have been already doing actual on the water testing of the impacts of large wakes on shoreline and lake bottom. And we'll come back here in 2021 probably with a report that will guide the LMCD for any particular controls that they need to do. The Cove Homeowners Association approached the LMCD with a request to enable de-icing for its permanent docks on Halstead Bay. They have had an unexpected impact of ice movement on their permanent docks, which was not expected to happen. The LMCD regulates any de-icing activity on the lake as a way to protect walker skaters and skiers and snowmobilers from thin ice. So there's a very comprehensive list of rules and guidelines for doing a de-icing, but that generally has been restricted to commercial marinas and an occasional grandfathered in residence from the 1970s. So at this point, the LMCD is concerned about adding another obligation to its list of management duties, if you will, and monitoring. The Cove management was proposing that we consider approving a limited number of outlot lake associations granted de-icing permits. That might be as many as another 50 different sites we would have to monitor and support and regulate. So at this point, if the Cove Homeowners Association issue comes to your attention, just be aware that the LMCD is reviewing that concept in terms of the implications on our staffing, time, and cost. So that's still a work in progress. The last item I have is one that I think is quite important, and that is trying to be attentive to the traffic that is passing through Cedar Point. One of the things, and now Mike, you could put that diagram up. One of the things that I included in the packet of information was an aerial view of the Cedar Point area. This is an area where, for the last 27 years that I and the neighbors have lived through, there's been a number of discussions around the safety factor of boats going through this channel. In the picture, what you see is a green buoy, red buoy indication, and then two polygons, which are really representing the shallow and weed reef areas that are off of Cedar Point. There is a significant amount of traffic that is going through this channel, which is 110 feet wide. The speed limit is 40 miles an hour. People are not obligated to slow down going through that narrow channel. The problem we're experiencing is the traffic is such that there's a number of possibilities for collisions. In many cases, these boats are going at 40 miles an hour, which means that they cover 100 feet in 1.7 seconds. And there have been cases where there's been 2 or 3 boats converging and passing in that little narrow area. And we're very lucky that to this date, we have not seen any deaths or injuries. And yet, if you watch the traffic going by there, you'd be amazed that there hasn't been, because of the speed and variety of angles that people are coming through that very narrow area. We have grandparents towing their children through there. We have kayaks, we have sailboats, we have small boats, fishing boats, as well as the high-speed boats and very large boats. So there's huge wakes that are creating some difficulty for people to get through there at a safe basis. So one of the things I'm reaching out to you to ask your support in is to literally endorse the idea of us adding what are called slow buoys to either side of that channel, which would effectively signal to the boaters coming through that they have to slow down to a no wake setting for about probably a distance of 200 feet. And if you notice on the map diagram to the west of that north reef, there's about 1,200 feet that can be completely gone through at high speed without any consequence, because they'd be a long ways from the shore from anybody. And so it's just a minor diversion that people would need to take if they couldn't tolerate going slowly and safely through a slow buoy, a no wake area. So what I'd like to ask is support from the council to be able to take this to the LMCD as a request of the city and the council that they give consideration and support for the idea of putting a slow buoy in that Cedar Point channel to enhance the safety. I have also canvassed the neighborhood up and down the shoreline here in Minnetrista and some parts of Mound. I have 43 signed cards from individuals who all agreed that this was indeed an area of concern. So we have strong support from the neighborhood community as well. Mayor Whalen, is there anything else you'd like me to elaborate on in that regard?
No, thank you. Great report. I'll leave it, I'll open it up to the council for questions or comments, and then hopefully we'll wrap it up. I fully support the slow no wake area. I think it's a safety issue, and I also think anytime we consider something that's for safety, I am on board with that. So with that, council, we'll start with Pam. Any comments? Questions?
I'm in favor as well. And Mike, thank you for doing the legwork, also for getting the 43 neighbors to sign off, because that does help get this pushed through.
Thank you.
Yep, good comment. Kathleen?
I have a question. Mike, do you know the depth of the lake on the other side of the reefs?
It runs certainly navigable and deep. I don't know the actual depth, but it's going to be 18 to 20 feet, I would guess. So there's not a risk in traveling on that area to the west of the North Reef.
Okay.
On the diagram, the pentagrams that you see there, at each angle, that represents a buoy that's in the lake. In other words, I literally just could see the buoys from the Google Earth photo, and that's what helped me to map it accurately to show you where this is. So there's a channel between the reefs that people could take, and that has enough depth. It's just that it's hard to see that when you're out there, because there's so many other buoys. It looks like they're all one big reef.
I did not know.
And then so you want the slow no wake buoys on both sides of the point, on just between, like where on the point do you want them?
There'd be 2 buoys, just that would designate the starting and ending point for the slowing down, and that would be just to the north and just to the south of the red and green buoys as they're marked there. So they would probably be placed. I mean, we'd have to visit with the sheriff as to what his preferences would be in terms of this, but probably would be roughly 100 feet either side of the actual channel. The channel is 110 feet wide, so we'd be asking people just to slow down for a 200-foot distance, which would just give people a little bit more time to avoid hitting each other, and it does reduce the wake factor in the channel, which can rock boats around. I mean, we've been nearly swamped ourselves, and pontoon boats have been nearly swamped, and fishing boats have been rolled around pretty badly. So that's why we're doing it. Kathleen,
I would be in favor then.
thank you.
And John?
I would be in favor as one who has fished that area, not lately, a few years ago, but I'm familiar with the area, and it's slow it down by any reef from a fisherman's standpoint is beneficial. So I approve.
All right. And Ann?
Yes, I approve.
All right. So Mike, just let me know if you need me to do anything.
And then,
Letter.
hello?
Is there a statement from the council that I could carry forward of some sort?
I would
Sure.
say the council is in full support of a slow no wake zone at the Cedar Point channel.
Can someone in the crowd ask anything? I'm just wondering.
Sure, go ahead. You have to state I'll give you just a couple minutes. I'll have you state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Greg Dragon. I'm on 3425 Hardscrabble Road. So I'm across from all of that. And I certainly understand the point that's being made here. It's a really good, I think, cause here. My concern is that I know a lot of boaters that just want to keep their engines running and will get used to that and run all the way to the other side of that and just sort of join in on the Hardscrabble side, and we'll just have a lot of fast movement boats over there instead of on the east side.
Okay.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. I'm sure the LMCD can also discuss that aspect, but it's a lot further, much bigger distance between Hardscrabble and the shallower areas, those reefs that Mr. Kirkwood was pointing out. So hopefully they'll stay far enough away from shore, but thank you for that point. All right. With that, thank you, Mr. Kirkwood, and we will now move on to, and you can give me a call if you need any, wording for the letter of support, and we can talk about that. All right. Thank you for your time, especially on the LMCD, because I know that takes a lot of time. So with that, we'll move on to our next agenda item, and that is persons to be heard. If we have anybody in the audience that would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda, you can do so at this time. You will have 3 minutes. The council doesn't take action on persons to be heard. We would direct it to staff, and we ask you would have to state your name and address for the record. I know we have quite a few people on the call today, but I'm assuming a lot of you are here for the public meeting regarding the Hardscrabble and Loring, Minneapolis Avenue, and Stonebridge. We will get to that just a little bit later in the meeting. So if you're here for that, you don't need to register under persons to be heard. So with that, is there anyone under persons to be heard for an item not on the agenda? All right, I Don't believe so. Mike, did you have any emails from anybody? Mr. Barone?
Mayor and City Council, I did not receive any emails today, so we are good to go from that regard.
All right, thank you. So then we will move on to our next agenda item, which is our consent agenda. It consists of approving our work session meeting minutes from January 4th, 2020. B is approve our city council regular meeting minutes from January 4th, 2021. I'm sorry, I said 2020 before. I meant 2021. And I'm still getting used to that. And then B is approve our city council regular meeting minutes from January 4th, 2021. C is approve our claims. D is approve is a resolution regarding certain lot combining an open space agreement for South Bay Property Lot 2, Block 1 and Lot 2, Block 2 on Halsted Bay Estates. And E is a resolution to approve a simple subdivision to adjust the common lot lines of 1 and 2, Block 5 in Palmer Point. And then F is a resolution to approve the actuarial services with Gallagher Benefit Services for the 2020 GASB number 75 compliance. Council, are there any that we need to remove from the consent agenda items?
This is John T. It's minor point, but I'd like to pull B for just a quick correction.
Okay, with that remains A, C, D, E, and F. Is there a motion to approve those consent agenda items?
This is Kathleen. I'll motion.
Thank you, Kathleen. Is there a second?
I'll second it. This is Pam.
All right, thank you, Pam. So a motion has been made by Councilmember Refkin and seconded by Councilmember Mortensen. So all those in favor will signify with aye. I, Lisa Whalen, will vote aye. Council, Kathleen,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and John.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. So Mr. Trumperlin, you wanted a brief discussion on something on the minutes from a regular council meeting.
It's just a word to be taken out. It doesn't change the reading in the way I see it, but it could be confusing. So on page 12 of your packet.
It's already been removed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I caught that
Councilmember
too.
Sumperland, I received, Madam Mayor, from Mayor, and I also received a email from Councilmember Refkin. It was just a typo, so it was removed and it's in the correct minutes.
Understood. That was it. Thank you.
Good. Well, good thing you and Kathleen also caught it. So you guys are reading your minutes. That's great. So is there a motion to approve the minutes?
It's John's. So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
This is Kathleen. I'll second.
All right. Thank you. So Mr. Trumperlin made that motion and Ms. Refkin seconded that. All those in favor will signify with aye. Kathleen,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and John.
Aye.
And I vote aye, Lisa Whalen. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. So now we will move on to our public hearing. So our first public hearing is a continuation, actually, of our local street improvement projects for 2021, consisting of Hardscrabble Circle, Minneapolis Avenue, Loring Drive, Stonebridge Road, and Stonebridge Circle. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Gadbois, our engineer. Adam?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. And thank you to the residents that were able to attend or are able to attend tonight. I do want to apologize about the mix-up with the first letter you received. If you did try to get into the last meeting, we did have the incorrect meeting information, so we apologize for that and glad to see that a lot of folks were able to make it tonight. We'll be going through a brief overview of what the project's proposed to consist of. And I do want to make note that on the city's website, which was recently kind of revamped, there is a construction or city projects link, and you can find some more information on this project, including a presentation and a recording of the neighborhood meeting, which really dives in deep into the proposed improvements for this project. So that's all available at the city website, in addition to my contact information and other city staff that could help answer questions if you don't get everything answered tonight here at the public hearing. So as Mayor Whalen alluded to, this project includes a number of streets in town. She listed, we've got Hardscrabble Road North, Hardscrabble Circle, Loring Drive, Stonebridge Road, Stonebridge Circle, and then Minneapolis Avenue. So all these streets are proposed primarily for pavement improvement. As most of you know who live on those streets, the pavement's in pretty rough shape. And so ultimately the goal is to replace the pavement and put a brand new street pavement section in. In the process of this project, we completed a feasibility report which detailed a lot of the other proposed work. One big component was the addition of concrete curb and gutter along most of the streets, let's say all the streets except for Hardscrabble Road North and Hardscrabble Circle. Those other streets will be getting or are proposed to get concrete curb and gutter on both sides, and it's a surmountable type curb and gutter that your vehicles are able to drive up and over, not a barrier type curb that would prevent a vehicle from driving up and over. Hardscrabble Road and Circle area will likely get some curb and gutter to address some localized drainage concerns, but due to the rural nature of those roadways, it is going to, for the most part, remain that way. The city also likes to take advantage of when these streets are opened up for repairs to take care of any underlying utility infrastructure needs. So that includes enhancements to the water main system, which actually only exists in the Stonebridge Road area, the sanitary sewer systems, and that's going to include some utility work such as force main replacement. There's 3 force mains within the project area, and those are pressurized sanitary sewer mains that are going to be replaced. And then, of course, another big component is addressing the storm sewer needs and drainage issues. So there's some existing storm sewer within the public streets that is in disrepair and needs to be replaced. And we'll also be adding some storm sewer to take care of ongoing localized drainage issues that probably some of you residents out there are aware of. So this is a continuation of the previous public hearing, at which point we did present a more detailed presentation. Like I said, that is available on the city website. So we'll jump right into the kind of the fiscal impact of the project, the estimated project cost, and then the preliminary assessment amounts right now. And then if you have more specific construction questions, you can raise those when the public hearing, during the public hearing here tonight. So the estimated overall project cost is $2.72 million, and that's overall including the work I just stated. But if you want to break that down into categories, it would be surface improvements, water main improvements, sanitary sewer improvements, storm sewer improvements, trail improvements, and lift station improvements. So there's 6 categories there that combine together for that overall project cost, which was listed in the letter you received. The important part, or one of the important parts for the residents, would be the assessable amount of those costs. So the city of Minnetrista has an assessment policy that states for reclamation projects such as the one we're discussing tonight and is proposed for construction in 2021. The policy is to assess 50% of the costs associated with surface improvements and stormwater improvements. So the costs associated with water and sewer, that's water main, your drinking water, and your sanitary sewer, are not proposed to be assessed to the residents. So the total amount proposed to be assessed at this point is $935,825, and what that amounts to is what we can gather from that is the preliminary unit assessment rate. So there are individual unit assessment rates for each neighborhood. And by neighborhood, I mean Minneapolis Avenue would be one neighborhood, Loring Drive would be one neighborhood, Stonebridge Road and Circle would be a separate neighborhood, and a fourth neighborhood would be Hardscrabble Road North and Circle. So you and your direct neighbors are sharing in the costs for your particular street improvements. So I'll run through those preliminary unit assessment rates right now. Stonebridge Road and Circle, the preliminary unit assessment rate is $9,447 per unit. So that's each unit is proposed to be assessed that amount. Loring Drive is $9,447 per unit as well. Hardscrabble Road North and Circle is $8,058 per unit, and Minneapolis Avenue is $6,000 per unit. And the reason that there is some disparity between those amounts is based on a number of factors, such as the work that is actually taking place on that road, because it is split out by neighborhood. And then also a big factor is density. Minneapolis Avenue, for those who live there and those who may be aware, has more narrow lots, and a lot more people live along that street, so they are able to share in that cost, and it is reduced. Whereas some of the other neighborhoods have maybe wider lots, less dense, less neighbors to share in the cost for those improvements. As far as schedule goes, this project is in design right now. At the previous council meeting, the city did authorize preparation of plans and specifications. The intent at this time is to complete those plans and specifications in mid-February and actually go for bids in early March. On March 9th, we would provide this project to be available to be bid on by local contractors. We would receive those bids on March 9th, calculate the actual project costs based on those bids, and then compute the actual final assessment. So what you heard here tonight is the preliminary assessment amount. The actual assessment would be available in mid-March, and on April 5th, there'd be an assessment hearing where, again, the residents would be able to come in front of the council and be presented with that information and discuss the assessments with the council. So that's the brief version of the project, and I'd be happy to go into more depth with folks after the meeting this week, or anytime. You can give me a call or look on the city's website for some more information, and I'll give it back to Mayor Whalen for the public hearing.
Thank you, Adam. So real quick, kind of regarding last time we had this public hearing, there were just a couple questions and comments, so I'll just reiterate those. Or one question from a gentleman on Stonebridge. He just wanted to know what the curbing would be, and the curbing on Stonebridge, Loring, and Minneapolis Avenue are all going to be bituminous curbing, as Mr. Gabois had just mentioned. And then we also had a gentleman on Loring, Mr. Witt, I think you're here too this evening, had some concerns about how accessible the properties or your lot or your home is going to be, how inconvenient is going to be. And obviously, we will do our best to try and make sure that you will have access to your home and you won't have to be too much bothered, but there will be some inconveniences, no doubt. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we move on. We have a number of people on the line, so we're going to start out. I don't have the names of everybody, so I'm just going to have to tell you, if you want to speak, you may do so, and you'll have to state your name and address for the record. So at this time, if anybody would like to come forward and have questions, make a comment.
Mayor, hi, Steve Bergerson here again. I just wanted to be sure I heard you right. I thought that when Adam was presenting here a moment ago, he said concrete curb, but then I heard you, I think, say bituminous. So I wanted to be sure of what I heard.
Okay, I may have misspoken. I apologize. So on Loring Drive, Stonebridge Road and Circle, and Minneapolis Avenue, it's going to be concrete. On Hardscrabble, it's going to be what we call a rural section, or it's not going to have curb and gutter, except in some areas where needed in order for the surface water and to contain or to divert water in the right direction. And Adam, is that correct?
Yes, Madam Mayor, that's a perfect explanation. Thank you.
All right. Does that answer your question?
It does. If you have a moment for just a teeny bit of a levity, I do have one neighbor, maybe more, but I know of one, who was opposed to the concrete curb because he said it was going to, kind of be a bump at the end of his driveway. And I just told him that he'll get over it.
No, and you're on Hardscrabble, so you won't have that concrete
Oh,
curb.
no, I'm on Loring. But
Oh,
the joke
I'm
didn't
sorry.
fly, so that's fine.
Okay.
I said he'd get.
I got your joke. It's pretty good.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. Good one, though. Good joke. All right. Always appreciate a little humor here. All right. Anybody else?
Hi, it's Whit Pideaux again at 6040 Loring Drive. I just wanted to reiterate the point I made last week, which is it seems like it would be helpful in soliciting these bids. The bidders are asked to comment on the extent of the inconvenience being created in terms of number of days, length of disruption per day, something like that. I know last time we heard the maximum disruption would be something like 8 weeks of 9 to 5 daily, but it will be nowhere near that. But just trust us, it'll be a lot less. But it was also said last time that generally the decision-making criteria is purely low-cost bidder. And if the vendors haven't been asked to specify or even consider the length of the extent of the inconvenience being proposed, that's the sort of thing that gets us into another Met Council 44 project kind of mess, which would obviously rather avoid.
Thank you. So Allison or Adam, maybe you could kind of clarify, aren't there some time frames associated with these contracts? I know in the past we've done things like that. What about this time?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Pideaux, for the question. Yeah, we absolutely include timeframes in what's called Division 1 of the contract documents, where we lay out, first and foremost, the expected start date and the substantial completion date. But we also make milestone dates, which is essentially up to the discretion of the folks writing the contract and the particular project. So, for instance, on Loring Drive and the other streets within the project area, based on the final plans and specifications and scope of work, we would have a comfort level saying that this work can get done by a contractor within 8 weeks. And then that language would actually go into the contract that says, the contractor that is awarded this contract, from the moment they open up the street and start constructing on it, they have 8 working weeks to complete the work and have it back to either gravel surface or the first layer of bituminous pavement, so that's maneuverable by the residents again. So absolutely, those types of timeframes are written into the contract.
And just to clarify, my concern is also that even if that's exactly what's written and agreed to, if we were turned out not able to access our driveways from 9 to 5 for 40 business days, 5 days a week, 8 weeks, that I think would be a colossally excessive inconvenience. So some more specificity on exactly what the inconvenience is going to be over the course of those 8 weeks would be helpful. And it doesn't have to be super specific, but again, 8 hours a day, 40 business days would be a pretty massive inconvenience, and that's obviously the upper bound of what you described. And that alone isn't much comfort that it'll be no worse than 9 to 5 for 40 business days.
Yeah, there's just no way it would be 40 business days, but thank you for clarifying that, that you'd have to be out of your driveway every day.
So in other words, can I ask Adam, just for clarification, what you're saying is people will have access to their driveways pretty much, except for we said during the time where the concrete is curing, but other than that, they should have access to and from their driveways on a daily basis.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, certainly.
Okay, Whit, does that kind of clarify a few things?
I think so. Just to clarify though, so daily basis other than 9 to 5 or daily basis always? Because as I said, if it, the curing period, I don't remember, was 3 days or 5 days or something like that. That's not a big deal. But the notion of every single day having the driveway blocked for 8 hours for weeks, that seems like it's a different order of magnitude of disruption.
Adam, I don't think that will be the case though, is it correct?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Right.
And Whit, I think what we can do as we move along with the project, we've already talked with staff in terms of really good communications with the residents too. And you'll have Adam's number. You can call him. If,
You can call me. Yep.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned last week, obviously the sensitivity is just spectacularly high given what we've endured for the last couple of years, which has nothing to do with the city, but certainly
Right.
incredibly disruptive.
Yes. No. And hopefully we'll be able to be a little more responsive than the county or the Met Council was with their project. So we will do what we can. Let me put it that way. All right. Thank you. All
Super,
right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam
Anybody
Mayor,
else?
Madam Mayor, this is Steve Bergerson again. I would ask that you all keep in mind that we're still in shock from having dealt with Highway 44 for 2+ years. So this comes on top of that.
Yes. No, I understand. I was over there many times during that time frame and completely get it. So, like I said, we will do our best. I can't promise specifics, but we will do everything we can. All right. Anybody else? I see several people from Minneapolis Avenue on. Anybody from Minneapolis Avenue that would have questions or make comments?
Hello.
Yes.
So it's Jerry Amon along 5103 Minneapolis Avenue.
Good evening, Mr.
And-
Amon.
Yes, hi. So the storm water comes down Crestview and then comes alongside the west side of my property. And when it rains, there's a big wash, and at the end where it dumps into the lake, it's starting to erode a lot of ground. And I just want to know if there's any comments around that and anything that could be addressed in this makeover, because I heard something about stormwater.
Yeah, I
Adam?
could address that question. Absolutely. I believe you're referring to the old fire lane turned ravine where most of the drainage along Minneapolis Avenue empties out to.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so we're planning some reconstruction of the existing storm sewer in that area, and also more specifically replacing the outlet where that water dumps into the ravine, and also enhancing the stabilization there. So right now there was a project done, I believe 10 to 15 years ago, to stabilize that ravine, and we're gonna enhance that stabilization and what we call energy dissipation, which just means it is slowing down that water and reducing the chance of it eroding any further. So we're planned right now to replace about 50 feet of that riprap with brand new riprap and fabric, just to make sure that that energy from the stormwater is dissipated and reduce the chance for erosion.
Okay, because if you get down to the end where it dumps into the lake, you could hide a Volkswagen in there right now. Well, I'm just a little concerned about the future there.
Now
Just a
we
comment.
performed sorry, did someone else want to say something?
Adam, Steve Bergerson here again. You and I, of course, have talked previously about the same issue with regard to the outlot at the end of the cul-de-sac on Warren Drive, and then also the runoff onto my driveway. And so since you just gave a few particulars about what you're going to do in response to the previous question, have you come to any decision as to particulars that you'll do here with regard to that same problem?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bergerson. I'll just wrap up on Minneapolis real quick. So we are enhancing the stabilization there, and we did do an inspection on the rest of the ravine, and we're comfortable with how it looks further downstream. We're really going to make an emphasis on slowing that water down right when it leaves the pipe. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Amon. And then over on Loring Drive, Mr. Bergerson.
Adam, before you go back to Loring real quick, would it be beneficial if you're out there sometime, maybe with Mr. Amon, just to take a look at what he's talking about? Could you do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we'd have fun trying to navigate back there right now, but I'm certainly up for it.
Okay, I'm thinking the snow would have to be gone, obviously, or something. I mean, but anyhow, if maybe you could, Mr. Amon, touch base with Adam and just to make sure that he's seeing what you're seeing since you live right next door to it. So I'd want to make sure that we're all seeing the same thing. So with that, yeah, I would just recommend, Adam, that you get together with Mr. Amon and take a look at that. So now you can move on to Loring real quick. You might have to do the same thing over there, meeting with the gentleman, because I know there's some big issues over there as well.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We can certainly meet.
Adam
Yes.
and I have met, had a great discussion, and then you were, I'm forgetting the name of the man from
Mr. Peters.
Maine. Yeah. We're both here. We had a great discussion, and your surveyors came out, and poked some stakes in the ground and so forth. But yeah, obviously, when you get more decided with regard to details, Adam, obviously, I think it's important for you and I to get together, and you can point and walk, and I can follow you, because I don't want to find out about what you're going to be doing after you've started doing it. It's too late then.
Certainly, I'll give you just the Cliff Notes version right now. We're basically taking that cul-de-sac and going to tip it to the north and to the west, as opposed to how it operates now, which is drains towards your property. And we're going to take it to the low point at Loring Drive, where there's some existing storm sewer that we're actually replacing and enhancing, and get that out to Lake Minnetonka from there. So right now, we're basically handling that with changing the grade of the roadway.
Okay,
all right.
That's so I thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go back to Minneapolis Avenue. Anybody else on Minneapolis? All right. Anybody else on Loring? All right. We can always come back, but anybody on Hardscrabble?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
yes, my name is Greg Dragon. I'm on Hardscrabble. I have a really general question. I may have missed this at another meeting possibly, but my question may be for just the whole scheduling of this thing. Will we know at some point fairly soon when our 8 weeks will be up, and we'll know when to sort of plan around the timing of when the disruption will be serious?
Good question. Adam, do you have an idea?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So when we look at the schedule, the assessment hearing right now is scheduled for April 5th. And after that is really when things get started, when we would have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. And at that point, we talk about all the project logistics, and schedule, and timeline. And at that point, we would have a phasing plan produced by the contractor that meets the contract requirements that we talked about earlier, those milestone dates and timelines. And then the contractor would tell us, we're going to start on Stonebridge in May as soon as the frost is out, and we'll be over to Loring by the middle of June, and we'll go to Hardscrabble by the middle of July. And those are obviously just dates that I'm making up right now. but we will have that information in that schedule once a contractor is awarded the contract by the city. And then what we do is we basically send out a newsletter. It's a couple-page newsletter with all that project information. It has the schedule. It has all the contacts that you can reach out to with any questions that come up about construction. And so, yeah, I would expect by the frost coming out and before shovels in the ground, you're going to get that newsletter that has all that project information, so you can start planning for when work is going to take place in near your property.
So this is Steve again. You're going to start at Hardscrabble. I assume that you said that as a matter of fact, and then move towards Loring and then over to the other streets south of us.
I was just giving that's just a hypothetical schedule.
That's what I wanted to know. So the sequence of streets hasn't yet been decided?
For construction, yeah. We'll work with the contractor together on what that schedule looks like.
The reason I ask is I've had to put off having you might laugh at this, but I have over 1,000 hosta on my property that I'm trying to get rid of because I can't deal with them anymore. And so 2.5 years now, I've not been able to do that because of County Road 44. And I need to find a window on Loring Drive where I can have that sale. And it's no laughing matter. I mean, it's important to me because I just can't handle all those hosta anymore. I need to get rid of them.
Yeah, I would say get in touch with myself when you do see that construction schedule, and we can talk through the best time for you to coordinate that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
But Adam, if basically you're thinking possibly not starting any street until what, mid-May? Generally, when do they start?
I would say generally mid-May. We would we'd want to issue what's called the notice to proceed to the contractor, which says, hey, you're all good to go in late April. And then it really depends on their startup schedule, their ability to, haul.
Right.
And,
No, I get that. I'm just trying to give the residents some inkling in terms of, so if this gentleman wanted to start digging hostas the beginning of May, he'd have a couple weeks at least, but he may know more sometime mid to end of April. But again, if he wanted to start planning something now, he could probably think beginning to mid-May.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, Matt, thank you for that. And I could, of course, just have a hosta digging party and invite the whole council.
Love those jokes. Keep on coming.
What about city staff?
There you go.
I'd have cookies and milk.
Well, just let us know when you're doing it. All right. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Stonebridge, Hardscrabble, Minneapolis. All right. Also, all of you callers on the line, just so you know, Adam and Allison's contact information, I believe, will be on the website. Is that correct, Adam?
Yes, our contact information is on the website. And then, of course, the newsletter that's coming out will have our contact information as well as the on-site representative. All
right. And so you'll have multiple ways to stay in touch and ask additional questions should they arise between now and later on. Yes, Mr. Dragon? Did you have another question? All right. All right. So with that, then we'll conclude our public hearing for our 2021 road projects. And we'll move on to our next public hearing, which is a Mr. Abel. I believe that's a vacation of drainage and utility easements.
Madam Mayor, this is Adam.
Do you want to close that hearing and approve that a resolution for that item that you just finished up?
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking we'd do both at the same time. All right. So I will now close the public hearing for our local street improvement projects for 2021. And I need a motion to, or resolution number 016-2021, ordering the 2021 street improvement projects. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. This is Pam.
All right, Ms. Mortensen made that motion. Do I have a second?
This is second, Kathleen.
All right, thank you, Ms. Refkin. So all those in favor will signify with aye. Ms. Refkin?
Aye.
And Ms. McGregor?
Aye.
And Mr. Trumperlin?
Aye.
And Ms. Mortensen?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Lisa Whalen. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, David, for that. So next, now we'll move on to our next public hearing for a vacation of a portion of the drainage and utility easements within Lot 1 and Lot 2, Block 5 on Palmer Point, Hennepin County, Minnesota. Mr. Abel.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor and members of council. As you'll see, this is actually in direct correlation to item 4E on your consent agenda, which is an item that you previously approved earlier tonight. It was a simple subdivision to adjust the lot lines between the lot and blocks that the Madam Mayor just mentioned. As per state statute, we are required to hold a public hearing if you are going to vacate any drainage and utility easements. And as with that previous earlier approval, we are moving that lot line, so we do need to vacate those existing drainage and utility easements along that common lot line, and that is what this item does for us exactly. So there is a resolution before you that we're looking for your approval on. So I'd ask the mayor and council to go ahead and open a public hearing, take any comment that may be given, go ahead and close, and then adopt the resolution that's before you this evening. Staff is here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abel. So it's pretty straightforward, vacating the utility easements of the existing lot line, and then a new utility and drainage easements will be created on the new lot line or configuration. We do by law, by state statute, have to hold this public hearing. So with that, council, any other questions of staff? Okay, with that then, I will open the public hearing. If there's anybody here that wishes to comment for or against, or have questions regarding the vacation of this utility easement, you may do so at this time. You'll have to state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody here for that? All right, I don't believe there is. So with that, I will close the public hearing and move it back to council. If you are in agreement with this, then I will entertain a motion to the resolution vacating a portion of the drainage and utility easements, which is resolution number 012-2021. Do I have a motion?
This is
So moved.
John.
This is
So
Pam.
moved.
Okay, I believe Mr. Trumperlin made that motion, and was it Ms. Mortensen, I believe?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Made that second. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor will signify with aye. I vote aye. Lisa Whalen. Ms. Mortensen?
Aye.
Mr. Trumperlin?
Aye.
Ms. McGregor?
Aye.
Ms. Refkin?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. That concludes our public hearings for this evening, so we'll move on to our business items. Our first business item is approve our City of Minnetrista Pay Equity Implementation Report. Is that Ms. Paulfus?
Yes, Madam Mayor, it is. Thank you. Minnesota state statute requires that every political subdivision in the state of Minnesota establish equitable compensation relationships between male-dominated, female-dominated, and balanced classes for our employees. The city must report certain compensation information to MMB every 3 years. In the past years, the city of Minnetrista has been found to be in compliance, and staff is confident that 2020's report will also be in compliance. In your packet, you'll see the job class data entry verification list and the preliminary compliance report. These are to be reviewed by MMB following the approval of this resolution tonight. Once the city submits the final pay equity report, MMB will review the information and notify the city whether or not it is in compliance with pay equity law. So tonight, the city staff is seeking approval of the pay equity implementation report for the city of Minnetrista, so we can submit the final report to Minnesota Management and Budget by January 31st, 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Paulfus. Council, any questions? Again, pretty straightforward, something we are required to do. So if there are no further questions, do I have a motion to approve the City of Minnetrista's Pay Equity Implementation Report?
So moved.
This is seconded.
Okay, so moved by by Ann?
Yes.
Okay, and seconded by Kathleen?
Yep.
Thank you. I think I'm starting to get it. All right, so all those in favor will signify with aye. Ms. McGregor?
Aye.
Ms. Refkin?
Aye.
Mr. Chumberlain?
Aye.
Ms. Mortensen?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. So next we'll move on to our next business item, and this is approve additional professional services for 2021 local street improvement projects. Is this Ms. Fauski?
That'll be me, Madam Mayor. Adam.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Before you this evening in your packet is a business item here regarding additional professional services fees for this project. And we've all discussed this project at length, and everyone is aware of the scope of the project. What I'd like to mention is that the professional services agreement was presented at the September 21st City Council meeting, and then the feasibility report began after that. And there was an idea, obviously, before the project was initiated and the feasibility was started, of what the scope would be. The feasibility report laid out the what we'll call expanded scope based on public works input, city staff input, city council recommendation, and of course our meetings with residents, and both at the neighborhood meeting and then in person. And so, as everyone on the council is aware, the scope is now what we've discussed in these meetings. And on your business item there, you can see what those additional project improvements really consist of. It's the replacement of an additional force main on Hardscrabble Circle, installation of guardrails, the trail improvements along Minneapolis Avenue, both the connection to Bayside and then the connection to Grandview. Pond maintenance improvements on the pond at the west end of Minneapolis Avenue, and then replacement of the storm sewer outlet on Loring Drive that was actually intended to be part of the lining project for this year, but was determined to be unlineable. And so now that we'll be in there improving the street, we'd like to replace that outlet pipe as well. So if there's any questions from the council on the scope expansion, I'll call it, which we've all discussed at length, I can answer those when this wraps up. But that's kind of how the project has expanded as we've gone through the preliminary design and moved into the final design stage. So you can see on that business item, there's a fiscal impact paragraph kind of describing the costs associated with each of those additions. And those costs listed there are the anticipated construction cost, the 10% contingency, and 20% indirect. That's exactly how we would estimate and budget for a project in the beginning. So these are just those exact costs for this additional work. And you can see that's right in the neighborhood of $1 million, with a big portion of that being that lift station replacement on Minneapolis Avenue. And so as we go on to the next page, where we've got a table summarizing the fees for this project, you can see it's broken out by phase, from survey all the way through final design, and then the two extra kind of outside of the road work items, such as the lift station and the pond maintenance, are broken out separately. So you can see what the council was presented and approved at the September 21st meeting. That fee was approximately 8.8% of the original estimated construction costs. And so these fees are based on a percentage of the construction cost. Then lift station 3 was included to the project on October 19th. The council approved the services to, actually that value included the preliminary design, final design, and the construction services fee. So that's that $43,000. And now at this meeting, and that, I'm sorry for the typo there, that should say 1/19/2021. Madam Mayor, I'm having the same issue as you apparently, getting used to 2021. But these are the additional fees based on that added scope. And so you'll see in the paragraph just below the table that the new proposed design fee is approximately 8.7% of the new estimated construction cost. So the fee percentage based on the construction cost hasn't changed. It's just that more work was added to the project, and in order to incorporate that work into the plans and specifications, it will take more staff time to do so. And what I'll say from an overall standpoint of the feasibility report costs that the council has seen thus far, those feasibility report costs actually estimate a 20% indirect cost. And so the fact that additional fees are being requested here, it doesn't affect that overall budget, because again, that budget was based off a percentage of construction costs. The construction cost has increased as laid out in the feasibility report. So now we're just requesting that we have the capacity to incorporate these into the plans and specifications. So that's a summary of what's being requested this evening. As is typical with all previous projects, we would present a proposal for the construction phase, which would make up some of that other 20% indirect cost when the project moves forward and the council considers award of the contract. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about these fees at this time before we would move to a resolution.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Council, any questions? I'll kind of go down the line. Kathleen Refkin, any questions?
No, I'm good.
All right, thank you. Pam, any questions?
No, I'm good.
And Ann McGregor, any questions?
Nope, I'm fine.
And John Chumperland?
No, I expected there to be a change based on change in scope, so no questions.
Okay. All right, great. Okay. With that then, if there's no more, any further discussion, I'm
Madam
looking
Mayor?
for, yes.
I apologize for interrupting. One thing I noticed in the packet here, and our apologies, but it doesn't appear that the actual proposal to go along with this business item made it into the packet. It's a letter proposal just outlining these services, just as traditional with these professional services agreements. It also includes the large fee spreadsheet that shows hour by hour, the staff that are expected to work on this. So that is available for the council to review. And I just wanted to let you know that if you wanted to make mention of it here, and that could be maybe on the consent agenda at the next meeting, we do have that available for review, and it's just associated with this business item and resolution.
All right. I think that would be a good idea to put it on the consent for our next meeting so we can at least have it and it's part of the public record. So is that okay with council?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So then with that, approve. So we still want to go ahead with resolution number 014-2021, approving additional professional services fees for the 21 local street improvement project. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
This is John. So moved.
Okay. Ms. McGregor made that motion, I think, and John seconded. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So with that, Ann, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Kathleen Refkin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Pam Mortensen,
Aye.
John Chumperland,
Aye.
and Lisa Whalen. I vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. So we'll move on to our next business item. It's approve our purchase of our squad and body camera systems. Chief Falls, I think that's you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. As I'm sure you're aware, we have had squads camera systems for many, many years. Most of my time here, starting with way back when they were actually VHS tape versions of the system. And our current system, squad camera systems, have reached end of life. Not only the in-car system itself, but the operating system as well can no longer be serviced, and if it were to go down, it could not be repaired. And that is, you'll probably recall a couple of years ago, the city went to great lengths to update all of our computer systems to Windows 10 operating systems for security reasons. And so this would be the last piece to that. This is a standalone system, so it doesn't affect our current systems, but nonetheless, it does need to be replaced. With that said, in recent years, there has been a growing trend for agencies to move towards body cameras or add body cameras. And I think the public's expectation has kind of moved forward in that direction as well. There were lots of issues, legal issues to work out with body worn cameras in the beginning. And so in the past several years now, they have since worked all of that out, and that is no longer a challenge or an issue. So we're very confident that that is the right direction to move in. I think the level of transparency that squad cameras and body cameras together provide is something that will definitely help the city as we continue to provide public safety and police services into the future. So with that said, we have researched a number of squad camera and body camera systems. We currently have WatchGuard squad camera systems. That is one of the leading companies. We still feel that that is the best company to fit our needs. And so I just want to clarify that we're not really, in the staff report, it kind of appears as if we're buying two separate systems, and I just want to clarify that. What we're doing is purchasing a new squad camera systems, which includes all the hardware that goes in the car. There's a camera that projects out of the front of the car. There's also a camera in the back seat of the car, as well as a microphone. In addition to that, each officer then has a microphone that they currently wear when they're outside of the car to capture the audio. So what we're really doing is purchasing new in-car video systems. And then in addition to that, rather than buying the microphones, we're simply replacing the microphone with a body-worn camera, which has a camera and a microphone. So it's just integrating that extra piece. And it's really creates an economy of scale when you buy the whole system together rather than trying to add the body camera after the fact. So that's what we're looking at doing. And with that said, we would need 6 in-car video systems. That's what we have today. So that's what we're looking at replacing. And then we would add 7 body-worn cameras because each patrol officer would be issued a camera. So that's why we need 7 body cameras. The total cost for that is $55,630. I noticed here that I probably forgot to include the most important piece, which is that we budgeted $57,000 in our 2021 police CIP budget for this purpose. So with that, I certainly stand for any questions.
Thank you, Chief Falls. Yeah, I'm glad you stated that because this actually was approved last year during our budget process. So, but thank you for bringing it forward. I know that in the past we've asked for larger ticket items to be brought forward so the council can simply review it and put their final stamp of approval on it. Any questions, council?
Hi, this is Ann. The only question I had was whether it was budgeted, and you solved that easily.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Kathleen, you weren't around when this was approved. Any questions?
No questions. I had the same thing about the budget, so.
All right. Okay, good. And Chief Falls, just I'm fully on board with this. I think it's a necessary piece of equipment. It not only will be good for our officers, but also for anybody that they interact with. Just want to make sure that they're wearing them at all times and that they are on at all times. So thank you. Council, is there a motion then to approve the purchase of our squad and body camera systems in the amount of $55,630?
This is Kathleen. So moved.
Thank you. Ms. Refkin, is there a second?
Yeah, this is Dan, second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Motion has been made by Ms. Refkin and seconded by Ms. McGregor. All those in favor will signify with aye. I vote aye. Lisa Whalen, Kathleen,
Aye.
Ms. McGregor,
Aye.
and Pam Martinson,
Aye.
and John Trumperlin.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. That concludes our business items, and we will move on to administrative items. Mr. Baroni, so first off, we don't want to forget, Pam had mentioned something about, let's see, Trista Day. Do you have anything to report on that?
Well, I have 5 items to report on, Mayor, and I have that one as the last of my 5. So,
all right.
Just a reminder that our next meeting is 2 weeks from yesterday, which is Monday, February 1st. At that meeting on February 1st, had a request from Mr. Kevin Anderson, who's the newly elected Hennepin County Commissioner for District 7, which includes Minnetrista. He would like to introduce himself and interact with the council since he just came on board to the Hennepin County Commissioner staff. So he'll be here under special presentations at our next meeting. A couple of labor-related things. We do have a labor negotiations with our police officers union scheduled for Friday, January 29th. So there will be a yet to be scheduled personnel committee meeting upcoming before that. I don't have an exact date or time, but I will work that out with both the mayor and council member Mortensen. And the final item under labor negotiations is we did receive a petition from the Bureau of Mediation Services. The Bureau of Mediation Services is a state agency. They're in charge of essentially managing labor relations for all jurisdictions within the state. And our community service officers, our 2 community service officers, have petitioned BMS to organize into a labor union. And so what we are doing right now is just kind of going through the paperwork that is required of each side. And so we've completed our paperwork from the manager's side or from the city side and identified the 2 members, who they are and should they be included in a existing bargaining unit. And our express concern was no. And if there was anybody else besides those 2, and again, the answer was no, it's just those 2. And at some point in time, as coordinated through BMS, they will have a formal vote of those 2 people. And through the LELS, who they've indicated they want to have them represent them. LELS stands for Law Enforcement Labor Services. They're also the union that currently has our police supervisors union and our police officers union. So it's not surprising that LELS was selected by the CSOs to potentially organize. They still have to have a vote, and it has to be a majority. And with 2 people, it's going to have to be 2-0 because 1-1 would not be enough to certify from their end a union. So we'll keep you posted. I can tell you I'm a little disappointed, but that's not generally how I feel is important in this. This is their right under collective bargaining law that exists in the state of Minnesota. If they would like to organize, they certainly have that opportunity. And whatever happens, we'll just deal with it as a city. And then the final item is the pig races. So Trista Day is scheduled for May 15th, and I believe at the last council meeting, Councilmember Mortensen talked a little bit about the pig races that are part of Trista Day, and also talked about could we move, since we've had a number of Trista Day, 2 Trista Day celebrations in a row canceled for different reasons. One was because of a complete washout weather-wise. Last year's was because of the pandemic, and of course we're still in the midst of the pandemic. And so if you had to ask me today or Chief Falls, are we going to have Trista Day on May 15th? The answer would probably be no, as it stands right now. Now the idea that Councilmember Mortensen had to try to avoid some of the crummy weather we get in May would be to move it to June. That's not that big a deal for us, but we identified June 5th as a new date, as a potential date, new date for Trista Day in 2021. But that, I think, just buys us about 3 weeks time to decide whether or not, because of the pandemic, we should even hold Trista Day again this year. There's a lot of time, planning, money, and effort that goes into planning Trista Day by mostly the police staff, but some city staff as well. But it's a lot of work, and so between now and the middle meeting in February, we will, Paul Falls and I, and then probably with Councilmember Mortensen, we'll talk and try to figure out what's our best course of action. If we feel like the Trista Day, as much as we'd like to hold it, is not really feasible in what is going on with the pandemic, then we'll probably end up canceling once again, unfortunately. So I just wanted you on the council to be aware of that we're got a couple things at play, whether or not we should have it or not, and whether or not we should move it to June 5th if that would help us out any. So we'll hopefully be making that decision here in the next few weeks, and then we'll inform the council as to what's going to go on. So,
All right.
Have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So,
Pam, do you have anything else you need to add or would like to add?
No, I just talked to Mike earlier about this today, and I will connect with the owner of the pig races. And as long as we can get him an answer, I think by as quickly as possible, early February, he'll be more than happy to hold those dates open.
Okay, thank you. All
Madam
right.
Mayor, or
yes,
can I maybe piggyback on? I know me and Mike haven't had a chance to talk at length about this, but another item that maybe along the same timeline would be, I know last year we weren't able to have a recycling day either in spring and fall. So I think that's things that the timing that usually comes up pretty quick here too, as far as lining up vendors and stuff. So I think staff here will also, myself, Mike, our recycling coordinator, Don Muchko, will have to probably in the next few weeks talk more about that if we're looking at aiming for a spring recycling day, which, if we can figure out how to structure that, I think that would probably be appreciated by our residents. So we just probably have to talk about it a little more.
okay, yeah, keep us posted. It'd be nice to have it since we didn't have, I don't think we have either one. We used to have two, and I don't think we had anything last year. So it'd be nice.
We had gone to just, we used to always have spring and fall, and then the last couple of years, before last year, had just done spring, seeing I think fall had usually been pretty light, but yeah, with last year doing neither, there probably is a little bit of a pent up demand to have.
yeah, okay. Yeah, keep us posted. All right. Council, any questions of Mr. Brony? All right. Mr. Brony, any other staff reports?
Mayor, I don't believe there's any other reports from staff tonight.
All right. I just want to make one comment regarding staff reports. I really appreciate the biweekly engineering updates that you've been doing, Ms. Fauski. So thank you for those very much. They're very helpful.
My pleasure, and it keeps us on task too as well, Madam Mayor.
Good. All right. So we'll move on to council reports. I'll start with Pam.
WCC meetings, they did not have one in January. Again, I have not heard if and when they will start to resume the meetings, hopefully soon. So I'll keep you posted.
And as always, buy local and support your local businesses, of course, right?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Chamberlain.
Nothing to report.
All right. And Ms. McGregor.
I attended the Gillespie Center meeting virtually, and their priority this year is for fundraising because they've had to take money from their endowment to pay the bills. And so they're looking for new ideas on how to do that. And then they also want to have something called a friend raiser where they bring in people that are younger people in their 50s and 60s to get involved because they're all over their 70s and they want to have successors for when they leave.
Right. Good. Good. Well, thank you for doing that. Anything else? All right. And Ms. Refkin.
The Mound Fire Advisory Committee is meeting on the 27th of January virtually.
Thank you. And I'm assuming you're attending?
I will be attending.
All right, thank you. All right. So I just have one quick I attended the Northwest League virtually, and our guest speaker was from Hennepin County Transportation Department, and they were just kind of going over what road projects are going to be done here in our area. I think 92 is going to be a mill and overlay, is basically the one in Minnetrista. If I hear anything else, I'll let you know. And then we just did council updates, and there are several new mayors elected, and so we welcome them. I did have the privilege of meeting our brand new commissioner at that meeting. He also attended virtually, so it'll be nice to introduce him to the whole council. And let's see, upcoming work sessions. Mr. Baroni, I just want to clarify, are we going to have the Park and Planning Commission ordinances on our next work session?
Yes, Mayor, we will.
All right, thank you. And then also just for the public's information and knowledge, we did talk about internet broadband at our work session, and we will be bringing this up at every second work session per month, updates and also some more discussions. So put those on your calendar if you're interested. That would be the second Monday of every month. We will be meeting at 5 or 5:30. You will have to check the website for the time. So with that, I have nothing else. We can then be adjourned. A motion to adjourn is in order.
This is Pam, so moved.
Thank you, Pam. Is there a second?
This is Ann, I second.
Thank you, Ann. So motion has been made by Pam and seconded by Ann. Pam and Ann. Wow. Okay. With that, all those in favor will signify with aye. Kathleen?
Aye.
And Pam?
Aye.
And John?
Aye.
And Ann?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much and have a good rest of the week.